Okay. The Hangout is live.
Talk.
Okay.
Say something.
Say something.
Say it again. Keep talking for me.
Okay. Don't know what you want to talk to me about. But you do realize that when you play it that
Okay, we got it now.
you got it? Okay.
Okay, so start again. We have it.
I wasn't really saying anything important.
Okay.
Okay. So, fingerprints. Did you hand them out anything for fingerprints, Mom?
Yes, I'm doing it right now.
Okay. So I'll just wait till. Don't know what you're handing out, so it's okay.
So I have on here the three different types of whorls, and then for them to do their
Okay, so more information to share upon you guys about fingerprinting. Well, first off, you guys know that there are 3 categories that fingerprints fall under. You either have an arch, a whorl, or a loop. In the entire world's population, about 5% actually have arches. 60 to 65% of people have loops, and 30 to 35% people have whorls. Arches they're very similar to a loop, except that one, they're wave-like patterns, and their ridge angles are less than 90 degrees. And loops tend to have lines and have to have at least 2 delta points within them, which they're also kind of crazy. So, and then loops, most people have those, so it's just a nice little
So most people in the world have what kind?
Arches.
a loop.
A loop.
Also with fingerprints, no person has the same fingerprint, which is why it's still very used in criminal investigations, is because where DNA, identical twins and everything like that, tend to have similar blood patterns and everything and genetic material. So it's easier to plant blood or whatever at a crime scene than it is to go and put someone else's fingerprint in the crime scene, unless you know how to lift prints.
So twins have it or no?
No, identical twins do not have the same fingerprints at all. No one person has the same fingerprint. Each person has a very unique fingerprint pattern.
Okay.
So that's defined by IDing of fingerprints is usually defined by ridge characteristics, which are called minutia. And
We have 2 questions.
okay.
I was reading somewhere that the person who figured out 2 fingerprints or no 2 fingerprints are alike. I read somewhere that it said the probability of them being alike is 1 in like 3 billion.
Yes, that is true, because your environment plays a part on how your fingerprints develop. It's why at the moment there has never been 2 fingerprints that are identical.
Okay. What if like criminals burn their fingerprints so you can't read them. Does that happen?
I'm sorry, what?
When people burn their fingertips so you can't see the fingerprints. Does that happen a lot?
It does, because people think, oh, if I burn off the tips of my fingers, then ha ha ha, I don't have fingerprints. I'm not going to leave it there. But actually having a lack of fingerprint pattern is a fingerprint pattern in itself. Huh.
Or
And when you burn off, people who burn off their fingertips, they're like, oh, it's fine. And what happens in general is you're scarring your fingers one off like that. And unless you burn deep enough that you're hitting the very beginning cells that start off your fingerprint, your pattern will come back. And it usually takes about 30 days. So within that time period, your fingerprint ridge pattern is already returning.
um,
Yeah.
so does that
So, I'm sorry, go.
does that happen often? Do you find like a lot of people, criminals burning their fingertips?
If they're not,
Not that I've heard cases of that, just because they're still human and it still hurts to burn yourself. So don't think they're willing to burn off their fingerprints. Half the time they will do methods to try to erase their fingerprints than actually get rid of their own fingerprint identity. And usually police officers actually spend hours upon hours doing fingerprinting if that's their section of forensics that they're in. And they have to look at, in a single ridge pattern, there's 150 points that you can use to make an identification. And usually for investigation purposes, you need at least 8 to 16 of those points. So the basic premises of fingerprinting is, one, your fingerprints actually start developing when you're still fetus before birth. Duplicated?
oh, question.
Yes.
Like I've seen in movies, like people put on like a glove or something and put powder or something on their fingers. Does that actually work?
Powder on the gloves?
Yeah, or whatever. I don't know how. Like, you can't really explain it, but.
Well, if they use a glove, then right, there's no fingerprints. That's why they would do it.
Well, it also depends on what type of glove. Like if it's a cotton and like if it's latex gloves and stuff, those still can, the amount of sweat that you produce can actually still leave a partial print. Not enough that could possibly give you 8 to 16 points that's needed to identify someone, but it would leave a fingerprint.
So for instance, when you see this thing, see those little black dots every so often? Those are points. You need how many points for a fingerprint?
8 to 16.
8 to 16. Go ahead.
Oh,
When in an investigation, I've heard of when you put the fingerprint through a computer processing program that is like a national database. I've heard of CODIS and Apex or Apis
Yes.
or something. So which one works like the best? Like, and how long does it take to really get a fingerprint match?
well, for example, none of you guys can drive, so none of your fingerprints are technically in the system. So those systems, all those systems tend to be based off of whether or not your fingerprint is even in the system. A lot of people don't. A few states don't even fingerprint people anymore. So a lot of people's fingerprints aren't in the system. Yes, the databases are good and you can screen it and everything, but due to the fact that not everyone's there, it's easier to just say who your suspect is and take their fingerprints, and then you sit at hours looking at fingerprints looking for a match.
Question?
So like if like a criminal killed someone, and you guys are trying to find the criminal, but like 5 days after that criminal died for some reason, but you didn't find who it was, then what would you guys do?
Well, unless we fingerprint them and it shows up or anything. Nothing.
Oh, okay.
And at that same point, like, the investigation ends because the killer is dead anyways, so.
Oh, okay.
Case closed. Let's move to the fingerprinting stuff. So I have the ink pads. Do you want them to take their prints first?
I can't see you, Mom, so I don't know what you're saying. Literally, I'm seeing history.
So I have the powder, and then they have the ink pad to take their fingerprints, and then the tape, or I have a piece of glass.
Okay, so here's the thing with all that, because I didn't actually get to that. For the ink, you can use the ink and have them fingerprint themselves. And so what you do is, one, you don't just do the tip of it, of your finger. And second, you don't want a lot of ink on your finger. So what you do, and I'm using my phone as a fake ink pad, is you'll put your whole top of your finger, this part, onto it, and then you gently roll your finger.
So here, I'll put one for every table.
I go second. Four.
And let's just
No.
while they're doing this, Noelle.
Oh, that's so cool. Look at my
Okay.
Do the robot so you can go to the desks.
I don't know if that's gonna cut off the live feed though. Fun story.
Is mine too dark? Wait, Sophie, is mine too dark? Yes.
Okay, so look at Noelle putting it on.
So one, you don't want a lot because you don't want the ink to get within the ridge patterns. And you'll go to a piece of paper and you gently roll your finger onto it. Well, this doesn't. But you just roll your finger, and so it wouldn't look like a fingerprint, like just like doing that. It should look like a square.
So this is the worksheet that I'm giving them.
Okay, I can't really see that. Okay.
Okay, so I'll give you a couple of minutes to do your fingerprinting. And then look on your fingerprint and tell which kind you have. Are you the whorl, the loop, or an arch?
I have all my
Noel,
Yes, ma'am.
can you be a combination of both?
Each finger can be a different fingerprint.
It could be a whirl or loop, or all of them are the same.
Yes, ma'am.
What if there's a weight?
Wait, so you can have, are all your fingerprints whirl, or they can be different?
No, it can be different.
All your fingerprints can be different because each finger had a different environment at some point. Your fingerprints start developing when you're in the womb, so every time you touch the womb, it leaves a different pattern.
What? Your womb, in your
Oh,
mom's
that's so
stomach.
cool. It's like I put the wrong finger.
What? Okay, then I'm gonna give you a wipey so you can wipe your hands off.
Your robot's not connected. Fun story.
I can barely see my world. This is the fights that we have. Yeah, I have a world. You have special. Oh, really? Yeah. Every single also tell which ones are more powerful. Oh, wait, one thing
I did not know that these fingerprints did that.
it's not that clear. I'm not going to look at my eyes. Like, I can't put on my cups for you. I think they're probably right. I don't feel it. I like it. Keep passing on. Stop talking.
Okay, no, everybody's done, continue. I'm gonna collect your, okay, hold on.
You can't tell it all. No, it's here. I can see it.
If you can't tell on some of your fingerprints, is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
If you can't tell, you probably got too much ink on your finger to actually, and when you rolled your finger, it's one of those statements where less is actually a lot more, which is the whole thing about fingerprint powder and everything is you don't want a lot. And so if you put your hand or you push too deep, then you put ink inside the ridges and it messes up the fingerprint.
Can I try again on like the different sides? Can I try again on this paper, but like on the sides? If I can. Where's this? I'll do that too.
Okay,
Here,
you are now in the system, yes.
oh God. What happens if our fingerprints aren't that clear? Well then, good.
You only need 8
Crime.
to 16 points to determine a finger.
Oh God. So like,
Question,
if you
choice.
if you went to jail for attempted murder, will you get a longer sentence than real murder?
Depends on what the jury decides.
Yes.
It depends if it's homicide.
Can I have a no, it's homicide.
Okay, go on, Noel. And we're moving on.
So there's technically 3 types of fingerprinting analysis that you can have. And latent, which is hidden or invisible fingerprints, which is what we leave on pens, everything, things that you can't see with the naked eye. What you guys did was a painted fingerprint. So that's when there's a substance on your fingers or footprints and everything. And when you leave that, you can see it with your naked eye. So ink, blood, grease, anything that will that stains your finger, and then you leave it on a piece of paper, anything that's a paint print. And then there's plastic, which are 3D fingerprints. So that's when you're down at the beach and you see your footprint and everything, those are plastic prints because it leaves a 3D impression. So usually in butter, candle, wet putty, sand. Patent prints tend to be more associated with a violent crimes, just because if you find a patent print, it's most likely in blood. Those tend to be worse. Lay-in prints, which are actually most common because you leave them everywhere, use powders to identify with them. So powders or chemicals to make them visible to the naked eye. Those you can actually, which whenever my mom puts the next activity, is get a really good fingerprint, is to go to the top of your side right here and just put as much grease from precipitation that you do behind your ears, all of that. Well, and then press your finger on a table, cell phone.
Okay, hold on. What do you want them to put it on? Do you want them to put on a piece of paper or a slide?
Technically, you could put it on your desk, but I don't think you want them to put it on their desk. So you could do it on paper. So if you do that, or you could even do it on a slide. It doesn't matter because it's going to be.
I don't care.
So you're gonna get the front wherever you have more oils. Oh, and sorry. Let me clean these because I just touched it. Don't get the slide by the sides.
Don't get them on the side.
Get them by the sides. Don't put your fingerprint on.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Do you want
Yeah.
to turn on your robot?
Oh, gosh, thanks for walking around. Whoa. It's like you're virtually here.
Okay, are you on? Are you connected?
Is it a robot?
It says that there's no robots connected.
Okay, hold on.
Whoa.
Did she go on? No.
No, not yet.
No. Okay. Mom, you disconnected yourself from the live cast. Okay. Okay. Well, guess I'm just gonna keep talking until something happens. Don't know what exactly, but guess I'll just talk. So, you guys get to hear more stuff from me. Okay. I'll see as trying to get so much go. You guys also get to hear more. So talking about fingerprints. I have so the collection of fingerprints actually comes from powders, which are most common because you look for it later. Or you can use iodine, but the only problem with that is it dissolves oil from the fingerprints. It's the erosion to cameras, which is not good since you want to photograph everything. Then you got, they're not permanent. Iodine's not permanent, so and when it's bad if you inhale iodine. So those are a lot of disadvantages than advantages to using it. You can also use silver nitrate, which is a chemical that when it reacts with the chlorine iodines from sweat, which will make silver chloride, which turns black under UV lights. Or you have, well, no, that's all the ways to collect evidence. Let's see here. One moment. Double. Yeah. Just gonna exit out of that. and continue with my live broadcast. So we have this, right? And then there's actually scientific principles that go along with fingerprinting. So your first principle is that the ridge arrangement on every finger of each person is different, which I've already said. Also that the appearance of the ridges comes from both your genetics as well as the environment. So the position that changes when the fetus pushes on the stomach and everything like that, it's leaving different prints, which is why twins at the same, identical twins don't have the same fingerprints because they'll be touching different aspects of the womb. They start forming their own individual characteristics.
Okay, it's on.
Is it? Oh, let's see.
Karina, can I go to this because my contact is
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm going to give you a slide.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh, it's me. Oh, wow, that's the wrong one.
Okay.
She'll do it.
That
She's-
works.
She can unplug it.
She'll move it in a
She's
second.
seeing
Okay, look at her go.
Whoa! Whoa! There we go. How's it going? Hi, person. Did you see it?
Yes, I can see you.
Yo, I'm here to watch. Oh, he's talking. Oh, you see. Oh, it's turning. Spinning chairs. Oh my god. Can you move the robot?
She is. So unparked.
So I'm moving it this way. That's good to know.
Oh my gosh.
Hi.
It looks like a police sees you.
Okay, so I'm going to give them a slide.
Okay.
Did everybody get a slide?
No. Yes.
Boys, come get one right here really quick.
Guys, don't touch it. Don't touch the sides. Where's the side? Take it. Whoa. That one's small.
You want to go to the girls?
Yeah. Come over here.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Can you move yourself?
Where?
Oh. This is scary. Can we do this one?
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want them to do next?
What the heck? What are we doing?
So, first off, did you guys put your fingerprint on the slide?
Okay, so put your finger, get it from your forehead where there's oil.
So,
Back
the back of your ear, the forehead, wherever a lot of oil is, that's perfect. And then you just,
Just do one fingerprint.
So just your phone, that's it?
Yes.
Just your thumb?
Hold on. Noelle, just one finger?
well, it depends on how many fingerprints you want to put on your slide.
Just do one. So just one fingerprint on your slide.
I can see them.
Okay? Come to the middle of the room.
The middle of the room? Okay, let's see how this goes.
Can you see me?
Does it look like
I can.
Oh,
You want me to go where you are?
Whoa!
Where's it going? It's so slow.
Crash.
All right. Wait, it's down.
She can drive it
It's a
herself.
Segway.
Yes, it's like a Segway.
Okay, pick it up.
Aha.
Okay, so now what's next?
Well, now everyone has fingerprint powder, right?
So I'm gonna give them a brush with the powder.
Yes. Okay. So first off, about fingerprint powder that you don't know. Actually, hold on real quick.
Oh, wait, she's gone. She disappeared. It's a magic trick.
Okay. So just with like the ink, the less powder you have is actually the best. Also, fingerprint powder goes everywhere. So be careful not to smudge your face because you'll most likely have powder on it and then you'll have a black line. Isn't that right, Mom?
Whoa, that is scary.
And
It's so sleepy. It's really weird.
so when you get the brush, you want to just dab it into and then kind of hit the excess powder off. And you want to do a nice smooth figure 8 on the slide. Very lightly.
No way. Yeah, but I feel powder? Yeah.
Okay, they shake it off and then what?
You take the brush after you shake it out and you go across where you think the fingerprint is and you do a nice gentle figure 8.
Okay, we did it. Okay, next.
Did the fingerprint show up?
Yeah.
No, now I can't see it.
You can't see yours, I'll brush again. And then what do they do?
Well, one, you just found your own fingerprint. 2, which is why I originally tried to get you guys to print my mom's car, but you know.
Yeah, she wanted you to go put your fingerprints on my car and then we wipe it off with me. No. So, this works better. Okay, and then?
So, how many of you guys have seen the Bourne movies or any of that?
What?
The Bourne identity movies?
The Bourne movies,
They have that thing.
what's the movies called?
Bourne Identity.
Bourne Identity.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Okay,
So I am going to teach you how to lift a print.
okay, we're gonna lift a print, okay?
So you'll take a piece of paper or tape.
A piece of what?
Tape.
The black doesn't come off my fingerprint. It like leaves like
That's okay, but you're still getting the. Okay, I'm giving him a piece of tape. Hold on.
Yeah, I can't even see. I get
Okay.
Okay, wait, what do we do now?
So this is your piece of tape. And what you do is, one, you don't just like place it down like this. No, you don't do that.
There's a tiny lamp.
You're gonna get a piece of paper, or bend the tape like this, and then gently where the middle, bend the tape. Then just place it in the middle of your fingerprint, and very lightly go over the tape, over the fingerprint. Spread it out.
You're gonna roll the tape like this, roll the tape, and then on this middle part, you're gonna put the middle part over the fingerprint. And very carefully tap the middle part to lift the fingerprint up.
No, don't lift it up like that.
Okay, roll it and then do what?
So you want to make sure you get the entire fingerprint with as little air bubbles as possible.
Right in the middle. In the middle of your.
Mine's amazing.
Wait, yes, look at my fingers.
Okay, and then?
And then just like how you put it there, you want to take the edges of the tape and lift it up like that. And then you'll have a piece of white paper, and just like you place the tape on the, you're gonna, starting from the middle and lightly just go over it.
Now we can retry it again.
Yeah, see, it just kind of, it just did that.
You can see it on the paper.
Yeah, oh, now I can see it.
If not, just get another piece of tape or powder.
Wait, can I do it again?
Yeah.
I put the tape on the
I know, my dad would go.
Oh, that's scary.
Normally, it does for fingerprints, but actually dusting.
I'm gonna get some oil from my.
We'll try this activity again, but it's 4 o'clock, so thank you, Noelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And then we're gonna clean up, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Listen, anybody who's doing graphics for our t-shirts?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
Okay, you have a graphic for our t-shirt.